All right, so a couple of stories here related to the pardons. This first one from New Republic. Republicans suddenly illiterate after Trump's January 6th pardons. So Trump fucking pardoned or commuted the sentences, but pardoned most of them. 1,500 pardons and a handful of commutations. So the commutations were reserved for the January 6ers who were convicted of seditious conspiracy. Their sentences were commuted. And all what that means is they get to go out of jail, but their conviction still stands in their record and they don't have their rights restored. They're felons. The other 1,500 people, including people that assaulted police officers at the Capitol, were straight up 100% pardoned.
Yeah.
It is an enormous clusterfuck. He said he would do it on day one. He fucking did that shit on day one. He had that ready. He did it in front of a crowd of cheering assholes. And like fucking Stuart Rhodes with his one stupid Cyclops eye is out of fucking prison right now, walking around, giving fucking interviews with far-right YouTubers right now. And they're reorganizing their fucking militias, I guarantee. The Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and the fucking people who violently assaulted the Capitol to halt our democracy in an attempted insurrectionist coup are home.
Yeah. And when asked about this, because Biden waited until the end to do his pardoning things, now that's all the news. And they're now, when asked about this, Republican senators are like, what, are we talking about the Biden pardons? We talking about how he gave preemptive pardons to a bunch of people? We talking about that? We talking about how he pardoned his son? And you're like, yeah, I think there's some issues there where Biden should have probably done that a little earlier in his term. Maybe just right after fucking Trump won, he should have just did it. That's what I think is like right after Trump won, day after. And then it's out of the media ecosphere by the time Trump gets into office. But if he does it 5 days before, it's still kind of in the ecosystem and people are still talking about it. People are still bitching about it. You know, one of the things that pisses me off about, because they're always talking about how many pardons Joe Biden gave out. And one of the things that people are missing is that Joe Biden actually gave pardons to people who had weed offenses. So there's a lot of people with weed offenses got pardoned. Yeah. And then another group of people that got pardoned were people who were sent home during COVID. So they were sent home because they were like on good behavior at prison. They were sent home to home confinement during COVID. And then they were near the end of their sentence. And he was just like, yeah, let's just pardon all these people.
Yeah, and they haven't done anything since, right? They've been model
people on home confinement. And one of them happened to be a Kids for Cash judge. So out of 1,500 people, one of them happened to be a Kids for Cash judge. Horrible thing, right? But they were on year 11 of 12 of their serving their sentence, right? So we have this weird thing in this country where we want to fucking like do all kinds of vengeance on people where we want to say this person did a horrible thing. Don't get me wrong. I think they did a horrible thing, but we had a judge who looked at that and said, hey, they should get 12 years. And then we should all be cool with that because we already said that we trust what the judges do. You know, I feel like another thing that happens too, which makes me fucking nuts, is we make these fucking, there is definitively a two-tier justice system where white-collar criminals do horrible shit and ruin hundreds of lives. And they're in there for a year, 2 years, 3 years. And then you get these people who steal fucking, $400 from a cash register and they're stuck in there for 6-7 years. Like the scale is just not, it's not right. And it's not just. And when we complain about this Kids for Cash judge getting out because Biden pardoned him, you're like, man, we have a fucking two-tier justice system where fucking judges aren't going to get a lot of time anyway. And then when he got the time, he's almost at the end of it. What do we care that he spends another year at home twiddling his thumbs? Like, what is the big deal? And he's part of a huge pardon. It's not like Joe drove to his house and be like, I'm going to pardon you specifically. Right. We're going to talk about something like that in a second with the Silk Road guy that Trump did. But that wasn't what Joe did.
No. And you got to compare apples to apples here. I think there is plenty of room to be uncomfortable with the pardons, some of the pardons of Joe Biden. Sure. I fucking fully support them all, by the way, but I think it's okay to be, except for the Kids for Cash judge thing, that's fucked up. But I'm uncomfortable with that. But the preemptive pardoning of people who've not yet been convicted of a crime because the new incoming administration is like, I'm fucking hunting for you. Out loud and everything.
I totally think that you should absolutely put something out there.
There's a huge goddamn difference between pardoning somebody who hasn't done anything versus pardoning somebody who was beating cops with a fucking metal barricade.
Totally agree.
Right?
And these cops are these guys that are being questioned, these GOP guys are using a tu quoque fallacy, which is you did it, you too, we can do it as well. And actually yours is worse. And so like, I totally agree with you, Tom. I totally agree. But at the same time, like I wish he would have done it just a touch earlier.
Oh, same,
it would have
dude.
been a lot easier.
100% the same. And these Republican lawmakers that are questioning on it, they're liars. You know, they're like, I haven't looked at it yet. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I looked at it
yet.
Get out of here, you asshole, you lying asshole.
Sorry. In conjunction is this other story, which is there's a pardon of Ross Ulbricht, and he's the creator of Silk Road Drug Marketplace. And this was a deal that Trump had given to the Libertarian Party. He had basically said to the Libertarian Party, look, you guys elect me and come behind me. I will pardon this dude. And as soon as he got in, he pardoned the guy who ran Silk Road. And it's not just drugs. I know they say this on the thing. They're like, it's drugs. It was a drug marketplace. And he used Bitcoin to trade. These people would trade anonymously. They would use Bitcoin. And mostly it was drugs, but it was also controlled prescription drugs. And books. I don't know what kind of books they were doing, but certain books. Digital goods such as malware, hacked online accounts, and pirated media, erotica and pornography. But I guess that they didn't allow child pornography, but they said that there was pornography on there. Again, I don't understand why you're trading Bitcoin for pornography if you can't just get pornography. Because it's not like there isn't a fucking plenty of pornography for free or for paying online with regular money that no one cares about. I don't know what you're talking about here, but in any case, pornography was in there. Forged driver's license and passports, services such as computer hacking or cyber stalking, performance-enhancing drugs, and weaponry. So that's what they were trading on this Silk Road. I don't want to just think it's only drugs, because I think when you just say it's drugs, people like me who are normally like, well, they should just legalize that shit. I don't understand like why we do all this bullshit to chase people down. There's a lot of other shit on there. I sure as shit don't want a marketplace where somebody can fucking buy cyber stalking services, or they can buy hacked online accounts, or they can get fucking like forged passports and driver's license. That to me sounds like a really bad place, and this guy facilitated that shit.
Yeah, and let me take a slightly different approach. Like I want to be very clear. I am generally speaking in favor of legalization of drugs as well, right? But until we have legalized drugs, because if you were to legalize drugs, then you would also create safeguards in terms of what is being sold, that it is actually the right thing, that it's sold in the right quantity.
It's a great point.
Well, I do think that we have a responsibility, a moral and legal responsibility to crack down on things like this, because I'm going here and I'm sending you my fucking Bitcoin and you're sending me whatever you're sending me, because we've created an unregulated, unsafe marketplace and people have died.
Sure.
People who have taken the drugs from Silk Road have died. The drugs that are available now, in large part because we do not legalize, regulate, and test, are wildly unsafe. Like I tell my kids all the time, like, I'm sorry, you guys can't do any drugs. It's all fentanyl now. Everything is, you just have to assume everything you buy is fucking fentanyl now. Because like a lot of shit's fentanyl now, That's just a thing now. It's a problem. It's a real problem and a real dangerous problem. So like, while I have an ideological and political position that says, hey, I do actually think we should legalize, I also think we should crack down on places like Silk Road, because they are not safe ways to get those chemicals. They are not safe for consumers. We should look at them as, here's a guy trying to make money. He doesn't care if you're safe or not. He's in the middle space. He's creating a middle space in order to get money from people who are desperate to have access to something. And he does not care if that something is safe or unsafe or everything in between. He's a fucking grifter. He's a mid-space grifter. This guy was put in prison for a fucking reason, and I support the reason he was put in prison. But he's become a darling of the libertarian set and of the crypto set. And that is a base that Trump just like explicitly was like, how do I court these people? And they're like, oh, well, you gotta fucking let our boy go. And he's like, all right, I'll let your boy go. Since when are Republicans, for God's sake, Nancy Reagan, fucking just say no, right? Like, since when are Republicans letting out drug dealers in order to get the drug dealer vote. That's what this is. This guy's a drug dealer. He just did it digitally instead of at the corner. There's no difference. We're going to go to Mexico, like with the fucking special forces and get into fucking battles with the goddamn cartels because evidently that's the wrong kind of drug dealing. But if you do it on the fucking Silk Road, it's the right kind of drug dealing because you actually have a constituency that I want to vote for me. I mean, this is just straight up grifting bribery shit.
Yeah. I want to clarify my position. I agree with you 100%. I was just saying, like, there's sort of a shorthand for all this that a lot of people are. This is the PR behind it. It's just drugs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the PR behind it. And I just what I wanted to say was, even if I agreed with that, there's also other shit that they're not mentioning.
Right.
So I want to just clarify my position that I 100% agree. Like, we shouldn't allow that sort of thing to happen because we know how bad black markets for drugs are. We've had them here for a really long time in the country, and people get shot on the street corner because of it.
Right.
So we know how bad it is already. So making it digital doesn't make it better. It's just fucking bad. And that's one of the reasons, too. I can't believe, like, listen to the fucking shit that Trump was screaming about fentanyl and drugs coming into our country. And he used that as talking points the entire time he was running. And then the first thing he does is he says, oh, here's a drug dealer. I want that guy to get released.
Yeah.
And also this guy, like, also supposedly, I mean, he didn't get charged with it, but they had records of him trying to hire people to kill people. Like, this guy was not a real nice fucking guy.
Right.
He's kind of a real piece of shit. And everybody, like, it's so crazy because if you go online and you see everybody's like, awesome, man. And I'm like, awesome. I'm like, this guy sounds like a fucking asshole.
Yeah. Well, it feels like, this feels like one of those things where people are like, I want the thing you made, right?
Yeah.
I want access to the things you made. I want to be able to circumvent and get access to stuff. So, like, I'm willing to not have principles because it's expedient. And that's exactly what Trump is doing here. Trump is straight up saying, you give me the vote, I will let a prisoner out. This feels like some kind of terrorist negotiation.